Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Well, welcome to Talking Politics. My name is Robert Press. As you can see by my official New York City press card, I am a reporter. I write for the Bronx Post and the Parkchester Times. Both, like this show, are part of Parrot Media Corporation. I also contribute to the Co-op City News and have a blog, www.100%.blogspot.com, where you can find more out about what I say here and other items, along with Facebook pages 100% and what is going on in your community board. The views expressed here on this show are that of the host, any guest, or anyone who comments at the bottom of the screen, and not necessarily those of Parrot Media Corporation. Now, quick weather report. Today, the high should get about 50. Saturday, the temperature should get up about 46 only. Sunday, 47, and back up to 50 on Monday. However, starting on Tuesday, it should be getting into the city's 60s for a couple of days. As far as news goes, Texas Democrat Congressman Al Green was formally censured for his outburst during President Donald Trump's joint address to Congress. The House voted 224 to 198 to admonish the lawmaker for his actions, with 10 Democrats joining all Republicans in voting for the punishment. Green was escorted out of the State of the Union address, and that is why this action was taken. The New York Times also reports that 7 people have died in state prisons since prison guards have gone on an unsanctioned strike 2 weeks ago. I'll get into that a little later about how much it's costing the state and what's going on as a possible end to the strike. But now Donald Trump dominates the news this week. The meeting between President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance and Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky quickly developed into acrimony and chaos as the American leaders accused Kiev of being insufficiently thankful to the U.S. for help. In an extraordinary exchange of the likes of which not often seen publicly in the Oval Office, Vance called Zelensky disrespectful, and Trump upbraided him from doing a poor job on the battlefield and negotiating table. You've done enough talking. You're not winning this, Trump told him at one point. You got to be thankful you don't have the cards. Trump castigated Zelensky for not reaching a ceasefire even as Ukraine suffers setbacks in the war. You're gambling with World War III, he warned. Trump emphasized that he was not aligned with either Russia or Ukraine. He is aligned with just the U.S. Trump said in a statement later on that after this, I want peace. Zelensky disrespected the United States of America, its cherished Oval Office. He can come back whenever he's ready for peace. And the New York Times has reported that senior U.S. and Ukrainian officials are planning to meet next week to discuss the first steps of a deal that could see an end to the war in the Ukraine after a week of U.S. moves casting doubt on its support for the Ukraine. As far as the hostages in Gaza, President Donald Trump said on Wednesday he issued what he called a last warning to Hamas to release all remaining hostages in Gaza, directing a sharply worded message after the White House confirmed that he has recently dispatched an envoy for an unprecedented direct talks with the Milton Group. The pointed language from Trump came after the White House said Wednesday that U.S. officials has engaged in ongoing talks and discussions with Hamas officials, stepping away from the long-held U.S. policy of not directly engaging with the Milton Group. Israel has been consulted about the direct engagement with Hamas, and they noted that American lives are at stake. Israel has expressed to the United States its position regarding direct talks with Hamas, the Prime Minister's office said. Israel has said there is about 24 living hostages, including Eden Alexander, an American citizen, as well as the bodies of at least 35 others that are believed to still be held in Gaza. Adam Boehler, Trump's nominee to be the special envoy for the hostage affairs, led the direct talks with Hamas. Boehler was a lead negotiator in the Abraham Accords during Trump's first tenure and strove to win broader recognition of Israel in the Arab world. The talks, which took place last month, focused mainly on the release of American hostages and a potential end to the war without Hamas in power in Gaza. Trump has signaled he has no intentions of pushing Netanyahu away from return to combat if Hamas doesn't agree to terms of the ceasefire agreement. Keith Siegel, an Israeli-American released last month as part of the ceasefire, was one of 8 of the hostages that have met Trump on Wednesday at the White House. He said, "We urge them to continue their enormous efforts. They have done so much. We trust them. We know that they will get the job done and get all the remaining 59 hostages or bodies held in Gaza back to their families," Mr. Siegel said in a statement. As far as the president's State of the Union speech, President Donald Trump vowed to keep up his campaign of swift and unrelenting action in reorientating the nation's economy, immigration, and foreign policy in an unyielding address before Congress that left the Democratic legislators to register their dissent with stone faces and placards saying lies and one legislator's ejection, as I said. The president address, clocking in at a record 99 minutes, added up to a defiant sales pitch for the policies that Trump promised during his campaign and leaned into during his first weeks back in office. Trump pledged to keep delivering sweeping changes to rescue the nation from what he described as destruction and mistakes left by his predecessor. It has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action, Trump said, of his opening weeks in office. People elected me to do the job, and I am doing it. Trump said he is working to reclaim democracy from unaccountable bureaucracy, and he is working to reclaim democracy from this unaccountable bureaucracy. I think I may have said that. Trump said that dead people over 100 years old are receiving Social Security payments, prompting Democrats to shout, "Not true, those are lies." Whatever they tariff us, he said, we will tariff them. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them, Trump said. At the same time, he tried to ease concerns about resulting price increases, saying there's be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. Trump said in one of his very highest priorities was to rescue the economy and offer relief to working families. He promised to organize the federal government to lower the cost on eggs, and I'm sure Malcolm Gray is happy about that. That's our egg czar, according to my good friend Anthony Ravecchio, and also energy, blaming the Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, for the situation and offering little detail of his own plans. He celebrated his crackdown on migration, but it turned out that we really needed a new president. Speaking about promised tax cuts, Trump said to Democrats, "I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts because otherwise I don't believe the people will vote for you back into office." Across the aisle, out of power Democrats set tone early, with most remaining seated without applauding or making eye contact with Trump as he was introduced into the chamber. As I said, after several interruptions, House Speaker Mike Johnson jumped in and called for decorum to be restored in the chamber. Johnson ordered Texas Representative Al Green to be removed from the chamber. Now, Trump used his speech to address his proposal for fostering peace in the Ukraine, as I said, and it seems that the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky wants to meet again now that he sees that Trump is serious. And finally, Trump also announced that the arrest of a suspect in the 2021 suicide bombing at the Kabul airport that killed U.S. troops during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. There was a Democratic response by Michigan Senator Eliza Slotkin following Trump's speech. She said that all Americans want change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. We can make that change without forgetting who we are as a country and a democracy. Now, as far as the tariffs go, Trump appears to be retreating after further on his punitive tariffs, announcing that he is delaying the 25% levies on Mexico until next month, and it's also said that it will be done for Canada. What Trump said, the agreement is until April 2nd. I did this to accommodate, as an accommodation, and out of respect for Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Our relationship has been a very good one. We are working hard together on the border, both in terms of stopping illegal aliens from entering the United States and likewise stopping fentanyl from coming into the United States. He said, "Thank you, President Sheinbaum, for your hard work and cooperation." Now, as I said before, there was a state corrections officer strike, and ever since the 15,000 correction officers unions spontaneously walked off their job February 17th to protest of back-to-back shifts and rules against the use of solitary confinement, the governor hasn't budged. She threatened to fine them. She threatened to take away their health care. She threatened to fire them. None of it has worked. Then she started following on those threats, and that didn't work either. They should be getting back to work, she said. There are serious consequences. They ignored the strike. Now, how much has this strike been costing the New York State government? It appears that the ongoing prison guard strike is costing taxpayers millions of dollars a day, according to Governor Hochul's office. The state is spending upwards of $3.5 million a day to run the prisons after thousands of correction officers walked off their job more than 2 weeks ago, according to estimates from Hochul's budget office. The whopping tab includes paying for the influx of 6,500 members of the National Guard who were sent to the lockups as backfill for the striking workers, an effort that's expected to cost the state $78 million if it lasts a month. It also includes massive overtime benefits for those correction officers who have not been on strike at a rate of 2.5 times their normal pay. That is going to cost the state $24 million if it lasts a month. And around 9 out of 10 guards have participated in non-union sanctioned action at least, and 7 inmates, unfortunately, have died since it began on February 17th, according to state officials. The cost estimates were revealed as part of a lawsuit pushed by the state against the New York State Corrections Officers and Police Benevolence Association for allegedly violating the Taylor Law, which bars public sector unions from striking. Almost 400 correction officers have been named in that lawsuit. New York State and New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision Commissioner Daniel Marteslo, I hope I got that right, said he is directly delivering the contents of the agreement to striking correction officers across the state that would be applied if they return to work their shift beginning this morning today by bypassing the union that represents the workers. He said that the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Commissioner Jackie Bray outlined the terms last night in the letters to the union members, which included establishing a committee focused on dealing with the effects of the HALT Act, reinstating the health insurance effectively immediately for those employees who return to work, allowing staff to continue working 12 hours until the facility has returned to normal operations when they can return to 8-hour shifts, continuing the 2.5 times hour overtime starting 30 days from the day employees return to work, expedite the reallocation process for both correction officers and sergeants within 2 months, a process that usually takes 18 months, not issuing any issues of discipline to any employee who returns to work by today, and confirmation that the DOCCS memo issued on February 10th requesting a comprehensive review of security staffing with the goal to cut the staff to 70% of its current levels is rescinded. He said the department will take the necessary steps for all employees who return to work today to adjourn the Taylor Law proceedings against the individuals who have already been named. The state's Taylor Law, among other things, prohibits state employees from striking, as I said. 18 days after the prison workers walked off the job, these terms come to a consent agreement between the State Corrections Officer Union, which failed to convene a number of prison employees to return to work. It appears that the union is saying that they have not had enough time to go over the corrections, the governor and the corrections department negotiations, and the union has said they refused to sign an agreement ending the strike because they didn't have enough time to look it over. The union put out a statement blasting any agreement that bypasses the union and questions whether it will be legally binding. Homeland Security Commissioner Bray emphasized these terms would only be applied to those who return to work this Friday, and the deal would not be offered again. We will not negotiate continuing the dismissal of contempt charges again. It is being offered to those who return today, this Friday, she said, adding that the state will exercise all rights and measures and criminals and civil to end the strike and take actions against those who continue to return, who refuse to return to work illegally. And I see I'm at a point where I need to go to a commercial, and I will get into a little bit more about Governor Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo, as well as City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams entering the mayor's race. So let's go to a commercial.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, back to some news. Before I get to Andrew Cuomo, New York City Mayor Eric Adams today announced the appointments of Dolfo Carrion as Deputy Mayor for Housing, Economic Development, and Workforce, Suzanne Miles Gustav as Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, Jeffrey D. Roth as Deputy Mayor for Operations, and Kaz Daltrey as Deputy Mayor for Public Safety. These people will start their roles as of the end of business on Friday, March 14th, while Deputy Mayor Daltrey will begin his role at the close of business today. They replace Maria Torres Springer, Ann Williams Isom, Mara Joshi, and Chauncey Parker. Mayor Adams said, all four have been vital to our work reshaping New York City. We've broken record after record together, and New Yorkers owe them an enormous debt of gratitude for service to our city. I wish them all four the best in their future endeavors. As far as ICE goes, court officials across New York City's courthouses are now instructed to step aside if federal immigration and customs enforcement officials or other outside law enforcement agencies attempt to make arrests without a judicial warrant in the state courts. Now, getting into Andrew Cuomo. He officially announced that he is running for mayor in New York City's primary this past Saturday afternoon. It is shaking up the field, challenging Mayor Eric Adams, ending months of speculation on whether the former governor would seek a political comeback more than 3 months after resigning amid multiple allegations of sexual harassment. His announcement came in a 17-minute video in the wake of multiple polls projecting Cuomo as the front runner in June's mayoral primary. Now, having launched his campaign, he carefully orchestrated a political comeback that will be put to a test, as well as staying power of the Me Too movement that helped get him out, and what direction New Yorkers want the city to take as it faces a dire housing crisis, which can be debatable, concerns about public safety and affordability, and an ongoing leadership related to that. Federal corruption charges unveiled against New York City Mayor Adams last year that have been dropped by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Cuomo says, "I know what needs to be done. I know how to do it. Experience matters. Leading New York City in the midst of crisis is not the time for a place for an on-the-job training," Cuomo said. He also faced scrutiny, though, however, over his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic in New York, particularly as it related to several or many deaths in nursing homes, and a $5 million book deal about his management of the crisis that was even before the first vaccines were widely available. Cuomo enters the race with a host of strong advantages and plenty of baggage. His mismanagement of the crisis and sexual harassment and inappropriate sexual conduct charges by multiple women, including state employees. While Cuomo has garnered strong public polling support from Black and out-of-borough voters, a constituency that helped Adams win in 2021, he's also deeply unpopular with more left-leaning New Yorkers. "I will fight Washington and Albany to make sure we get our fair share of funding and to protect our rights and values, and New Yorkers hold dear that we believe any discrimination by race, color, or creed is anti-American," Cuomo said, noting that while he's willing to collaborate with Trump, as he did during the president's first term, he's willing to readily push back. He said he's not the only one seeking to challenge Mayor Adams, as New York City Controller Brad Lander, Assembly Member Zoran Mandani, former Controller Scott Stringer, State Senator Jessica Ramos, State Senator Zelma Myrie, and others have had months to build up their campaigns and raise money and hone their messaging. Public polling before Cuomo's entrance to the race consistently placed him in the lead, usually following closely by either Lander or Stringer. And, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. has endorsed Cuomo for mayor. Yes, this is a man who wants to put a 45-story building in a low-density area. This will be the tallest building. He is the senior vice president of Montefiore Hospital, who wants to put a life science building in the Morris Park Indian Village area, and this will be the tallest building in the state, or in the Bronx, I should say. Pardon me. As you see community opposition to the casino at Ferry Point by Bally's, there will be plenty of community opposition to this, and they have to go before the community board, because they need a zoning change, and I'm sure it's already been arranged at the City Department of Planning. So we'll see how high that building is. As former Borough President Diaz, now worker for Montefiore Hospital to get things done, said, well, we can make it shorter too. So let's see how smaller you can make it, former Borough President Diaz. All right, now back to Andrew Cuomo. He is pro-Israel, a moderate who promises to keep the Democratic Party from falling off the left edge. His major endorsements, Richie Torres, former controller Carl McCall, and now we see former borough president, Ruben Diaz Jr. Cuomo's state campaign has nearly $8 million in it. There's a process for transferring that money into a city account, and his allies have launched a political action committee and hope to raise millions for him there. Where does Cuomo call home? He's a Queens boy, but he's currently registered to vote in Midtown East. What is he running on? Victories from his Albany glory days. What's holding him back? The cost of performing well in early polls and of developing a reputation as a ruthless operator. Cuomo used to be the most powerful elected official in the state and a possible candidate for president at one time. Cuomo has led the mayoral field in recent polls even before entering the race, prompting insiders to question which version of Andrew Cuomo voters will remember. Cuomo's opposition is hoping the recent polling reflects a ceiling for his popularity in the city. The more progressive field will now be focused on anybody but Cuomo, as it was focused on anybody but Adams 6 months ago. Now, as I said, his mistakes were charges by women that he inappropriately said or did things. The COVID fact that with the nursing homes deaths, and he admits he made some mistakes. The mistakes the governor said were listed off the top of my head, include failing to put more state police on city subways to offset further budget cuts, being unprepared for the pandemic, and he took everything too seriously and was impatient with the process, he says. Governor Kathy Hochul called the allegations of sexual harassment and assault against Governor Hochul, against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, which he denies, and as repulsive and unlawful in 2021. And Senator Gillibrand said at that time they were serious and deeply concerning, and called for his resignation, as well as Richie Torres, who is now endorsing Cuomo, also called for him to step down. As a former governor continued to show he's the front runner in the mayor's race, the poll released Wednesday has him at least 20 points ahead of the pack. I stand by what I said at the time, Hochul said, referring to a 2021 remark. I want to be clearly to say, but I have to go forward in the light of where we are today and deal with whatever the voters decide to deal with. Gillibrand, who took her time in demanding that Cuomo step down after being the first Democrat to call for Minnesota Senator Al Franken's resignation, said Tuesday, "We live in a country that believes in second chances," when asked about Cuomo. Eric Vladimir, though, however, the co-founder of the Sexual Harassment Working Group, who's working to oppose Cuomo's candidacy, said she's incredibly disappointed in Hochul and in Gillibrand, who wanted Cuomo going 4 years ago, but now suddenly think he's fit to be mayor. Cuomo's spokesperson said the legal fallout from the probes and the lawsuits into Cuomo's alleged behavior shows he's innocent. 3 years and 5 district attorney reviews that resulted in 0 cases and 0 civil cases. The city is in crisis, and everybody knows that Andrew Cuomo has the experience and the record and the skill to save it, Richard Pazzi, Cuomo spokesman, said. So, Rich, what about Mayor Adams? He's been there 4 years. Doesn't he have the experience and the know-how on what to do? I don't know. That's politics. Okay. Meanwhile, far right-wing Assemblyman Zohan Mamdani, the millennial Democratic socialist with a savvy media sense, is enjoying an increase in interest. He's raised over $3.4 million now with public matching funds, collected over 7,000 donations, boasting an average contribution of $74, which his team says is true grassroots support. He expects to raise $8 million through the city's matching funds program, churning out buzzy social media videos while taking an unapologetic policy stance. He is running strong in the ideological lane of energized left, a strategy which, when coupled with his criticism of Israel, would appear to have a ceiling in New York City Democratic primary. But he is getting a lot of attention nonetheless. He told Playbook that Bernie Sanders got 40% of the vote in Staten Island, which is Republican heavy. And I do think there's a majority of New Yorkers who feel left behind by the economic policy of this mayoral administration and are hungry for a focus on an economic agenda. Now, Mayor Eric Adams testified in Washington as one of the 4 big city mayors. However, you would expect the Republicans to go after a Democratic mayor. It was just the opposite. It was his own Democrats that went after him. GOP lawmakers not only spared Adams from the brunt of their often theatrical attacks on sanctuary cities, they defended him against the Democratic onslaught, including his fellow New Yorker, Congresswoman Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez. Oversight chaired James Comer at one point called Adams an outstanding mayor. He said, "We have a right to know if the Trump," it was the latest display of just how far through the looking glass things have gone for Adams, who in 4 years has gone from the Biden of Brooklyn and new face of a Democratic Party to an unlikely ally of President Donald Trump. We have a right to know if the Trump administration has actually coerced you into agreeing with him. Are you selling out New Yorkers to save yourself from prosecution?" Congressman Robert Garcia of California asked him. Mayor Adams shot back, "There's no deal, no quid pro quo. I did nothing wrong." He's what has become his standard response to the allegations that he struck an illicit deal with Trump border czar Tom Homan to allow federal immigration agents into city jails in exchange for the legal peril. The mayor has continuously sought to push back the notion that his approach to immigration and crime has changed since Trump won a second term. "You know me, I'm the same mayor," he told reporters after the hearing. "Three things stay in my mind all the time: public safety, and public safety." Now, as far as it goes, I'm running out of time. Speaker Adams gave her State of the City address. It was a number of things, including 7-day library service, accelerating minority business growth, expanding childcare for working families, increasing access for a new model for holistic community centers, fixing administrative barriers for the chefs program, reducing delayed payments to nonprofits, and a couple of other things. You can find that on my blog at www.100% under the heading Speaker Adams outlines her visions for leadership of New York City. And will she become the next politician to test whether a city council speaker is a dead-end job in elected office, or for the first time, will it be a launching pad to her new job at City Hall? And finally, I'm going to close with this item. Staff workers at 32 BJ SEIU are officially accusing their labor giant of engaging in a kind of union busting tactics that it usually fights against, despite working for the union themselves and helping to organize workplaces. Staff at 32 BJ are not currently unionized. Last year, 32 BJ employees launched a unionized effort, which I spoke of last year, in the efforts of hopes of winning that kind of labor protections that 32 BJ provides to its own members. The organization is off to some part of a rocky start. The staff union, which is affiliated with the Washington Baltimore News Guild, previously asked the leadership of 32 BJ, a politically powerful union that represents more than 175,000 workers, mostly in the building service industry, to remain neutral during the union effort. But the staff union says 32 BJ leadership has tried to interfere with the union drive. As union staffers, we now know what union busting looks like, and we've seen it again. It's against the law, the staff union said in a statement to City and State. We have made a formal request of management to remain neutral and asked to meet with the leadership regarding a neutrality agreement, but they have not responded to these requests. On February 26th, the youth staff union, the staff filed an unfair labor practice complaint known as a ULP with the National Labor Relations Board, alleging that 32 BJ leadership has violated the federal law by interfering with its its efforts to unionize. They reference 5 specific charges: discharge, including layoffs, charges in term of employment, interrogation, denial of access, and coercive statements. The staff says provided additional details on social media into what the allegations entail. Perhaps most troublingly, organizers say that 32 BJ retaliated against staff who engaged in union activities. But other accusations include asking the staff to sign a non-union or anti-union petition, removing union materials from places where they could be legally displayed, and coercively asking about union activities. Organizers previously told City and State about some of the alleged union busting practices, like the anti-union petition and managers discouraging staff from participating in union activities, but the ULP represent an escalation by officially asking the National Labor Board Relations Board to investigate the behavior of 32BJ. And if found guilty, 32BJ could be subject to a number of possible legal consequences, such as fines or issue of back pay. Now, a spokesman for 32BJ did not return requests for comment by city and state, but maybe we should ask 32BJ candidate Shirley Aldebal for the 13th city council race about these union busting changes, since she is listed as the 32BJ United American Dream Fund Political Action Committee chairperson that has given millions of dollars to candidates, including ones that are associated with the Bronx Democratic Party and other PACs, so they can help Bronx Democratic Party candidates. I guess if one was to follow the 32BJ money trail, it could lead to an endorsement by the Bronx Democratic Party of Miss Aldebal, who says she has just retired from 32BJ, but still remains as the chair of its union PAC. No wonder several Democratic candidates in the 13th city council race are saying they never were interviewed by the Bronx Democratic Party for an endorsement for the 13th council race. And I will try and see which Bronx Democratic Party candidate received how much money from 32BJ, the 32BJ PAC, for the next show. I know that there are several, including City Councilman Kevin Riley, State Senator and Bronx Party Democratic Chair Jamal Bailey, among others, who have received money from the 32BJ PAC. Yes, I know about Dr. Katz. He is announcing the expansion of the innovative program to keep medically vulnerable homeless New Yorkers out of shelters. And he is also worried that with the new president, that there will be cuts to the city hospitals program. And he is worried that he may have to have cuts in the city hospitals. But you know what? Dr. Katz, who is the CEO of the Health and Hospital Corporation, why don't you give back the $220,000 raise you just got, raising your salary to $880,000? And I'm going to close with that. I know I'm over. I'm sorry, but thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week here on Talking Politics on Parrot TV. Thank you for watching.
In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your products and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our new site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.